for my own structure of people that I would bring along with something like this, I wouldn't offer any of them a salary. Nothing at all. Because if the opportunity is that good, then there's people that will get involved in an opportunity that's that good. But these people have some traction in their territories. It's just not enough. I mean, everybody here has sold a machine, right? Does everybody in here have an installed, at least one? Mm-hmm. Okay. So if everybody has accomplished it, I'm a big believer if you've accomplished it once, you can accomplish it forever, over and over again. It's a matter of activity. And I would actually, if I was, again, just me, and I'm not looking to make any enemies at all, but we're talking realistic business. If a guy didn't admit that there were parts of his territory with only 10 people covering the whole country, that they wouldn't admit that they weren't able to cover their whole territory, it's just not true. They can't physically cover that whole territory unless they went with that option of like bringing on an assistant of their own to help them to do some of the front work. I would spend very little time on this deal inside too. It's hard to track how much time people spend outside, but I would spend my day at the beginning walking into surgeons, walking into radiologists. That's exact, and going to see investors. So all in all, territories become a problem when you have a national sales opportunity. You see what the big guys are willing to do. They're willing for only 1,000 new sales or whatever it is in a year. They have 1,000 reps. It's ridiculous. They've overkilled it. I think what we were talking about in our meetings with Tom was that we could figure out a way with this group that we could show them how to stimulate enough that what they were doing was all they could handle. When a rep gets to the point where they're doing all they can handle, then it makes the decision easier. I don't think anybody, from the numbers that I've seen and the people that I've talked to when they're talking honestly, could say that they really have enough prospects that they're spending really 40 hours a week on an opportunity that big. A professional closer has to be able to find one new prospect a week. A week, that's 40 hours of work. And really, once they've pitched somebody, the way they're chasing them now is more wasted time. They're hoping on those couple in their bag. You can't count on a couple in your bag. You need 100 so that when they start dripping once a month, you've now created a large opportunity. So I think the country for right now is bigger than 10 people could handle. But I don't know that it has to be that much bigger. It's just how do we get the effort of getting the word out, which we've already come to terms on to test. So if that works, then my belief more than anything, if I ever have the opportunity, I'm not going to wait for the salesman to make the decision. I'm going to tell them, here's your appointments. I'm expecting you bring me 1 and 3 back, period. That's what the job entails. And if you bring me 1 and 3, I'll feed you forever. If you don't bring me 1 and 3, you're going to have to go out and knock on doors until you can get to 1 and 3. So the motivation is a big thing. You know, you have to, the downer that might be in some ways involved in the opportunity because this information has been coming along for such a long time. It's hard to sometimes chop off the past. I think everybody could, and they now see that the information that's gathered, but for example, and nothing against anybody, they even argued some of the things that we see as truly the strongest and most valued points, and it's simply because of what they've gotten in the field. I'll give you one other thing I think a sales force that's this scattered really could use. They need to use each other more. For example, that idea of switch pitching. Doug and I have personally done it together, so it's something I feel comfortable speaking about, where I have run into a dead end with a client for whatever reason. Somebody else calls that client and goes, hey, I was talking to Glenn, he says you guys were really excited about it, and I'm helping him out, I assist him some, just for my own knowledge. I was wondering, what's causing you to hesitate? So I couldn't get them to give me, in all my trying, I couldn't get that prospect to give me their true objection. And by simply asking somebody to help you out, they now give Doug the exact objection that I needed to close. And now we go back and we close the deal. So these are things where I think the guys could help each other and play off of each other to really to stimulate and move ahead leads. The other thing is I put, some people don't like this, but I have big boards up in my offices. Any sales organization, I have a big board up. Every salesman's name and all their activities, number of appointments, number of prospects, and everything we want is one picture, which you'll now have with the CRM. You'll have one snapshot of everybody's activity. Once they start to have to talk to each other about their own activity, there's an embarrassment if you have 5 leads and a guy has 50. So they sort of, in a way, will help to stimulate each other and move their way up. But in your kind of sale, I would bet on occasion you run into clients that you think you have them, but we can't quite figure out how to get them over the hump. A different voice, you can even say, you know the best way to do it is to say, he calls and says he's my manager. Now people have talked to a representative up to this point. Now that's still a good position in a company like this because it's such a fancy opportunity. However, everybody likes to talk to somebody of authority, whether that's really a person of authority or not. So these are little ideas and little tricks of ways of re-engaging. Your customers, for example, that you both spoke about, that are now a little bit stuck or you didn't have the information to move them forward, these would be perfect opportunities. Act like you're each other's customer service department. Make a call saying, I wanted to get in touch with you. I understand we saw you a couple, not me, I understand Fonar saw you a couple years ago. Well, you liked the opportunity then, but you didn't move forward. With the information I have now, it's even better. When can I set up for Alan to be able to come back out and see you? He only needs 15 minutes to give you this new info. And now the door's back open. You couldn't have gotten it yourself, but just because it was a different voice approaching them from a different, what seems like a different department of the company, it re-stimulates that prospect.
I do that.
It's a fabulous way to do it. Yeah. There's no, because we run into what I think I'm hearing is that they have books of people they're working. Some are legitimate prospects that they're working through, and the sales are going to go up. There's no question. But I think in everybody's book, I would say if Sal's the one who evaluates it, he probably hears a lot of the same stories of these prospects each time they report. It's not worth reporting that kind of person. That kind of person, maybe even Sal does it since you're the VP. You call up and you say, we've gotten you to this point, it's obviously stalled. I'm just wondering, is there, because usually it's probably something very easy or fundamental that you could just answer and move forward, but the rep is stalled for whatever reason.
In 80 to 90% of all the orders we get, I get a talk with the customer.
Well, that doesn't surprise me, right? And that should be. And that was where I said if we were to develop something for the web, and I think everybody might be excited about it, if we developed something where maybe I was interviewing you or somebody was interviewing you, and you did a specific explanation for the objections that they're getting from the Big Four and that the misdirection that the Big Four is giving, and they have a simple thing where they can pull it up with the prospect on their laptop if they're connected that way, or maybe they just carry a CD and drop it into the computer. You know what? We find, Mr. Prospect, that the best way to make you comfortable is to have the man himself that developed the technology explain the answers to all your questions. Take his answers back to the GE rep and see what the GE rep responds. I'll call the GE rep for you. I call people's competitions, my own selling competition. For the prospect, I will call their competition because they're scared to ask tough questions.
You see, every order that we get, just about every order, okay, the customer comes to see Fonar. He meets Dr. Demagian for lunch or for dinner, okay? And he gets excited that he'll never meet the president of GE, but he'll meet the president of Fonar, and he'll meet the inventor. And
I think it's a very, very valuable tool.